Now, I sat down with CBS 6 political analyst Dr. Bob Holsworth to watch tonight's debate. He joins me now. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here, Janine.
So something I noticed immediately seemed like a more traditional debate. They shook hands as they came out. They even seemed to agree with each other on some topics.
Yeah, we saw a lot more agreement than we saw in the first debate. For J.D. Vance, what he wanted to do was to show that he had a more agreeable demeanor, and then he wanted to moderate Donald Trump to some degree. And then Tim Walz, I think, was trying to appeal to sort of the middle voter, those persons who haven't really made up their mind. You know, my sense actually is that there's some Democrats who are probably not so happy with how agreeable Tim Walz was. They would have wanted to hear more about Project 2025. They would have wanted to hear even more stringent criticism of Donald Trump than they got tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Now, a lot of topics that Americans want to hear about: border control, economy, gun legislation, reproductive rights. How do you think each of the candidates did on those topics?
You know, it was like the debate almost had two halves. The first half, I think, J.D. Vance was more comfortable. He was certainly more comfortable with the immigration issue, I think, than Tim Walz was in some ways. However, when it got to abortion and health care and child care at the end of the debate, those were stronger moments for Tim Walz. And certainly, I think a lot of people are going to remember that ending of that debate where J.D. Vance could not say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. On the other hand, I think Republicans are going to put in a number of their ads that one comment that Tim Walz made when asked about his misstatement about when he was in China during Tiananmen Square. Tim Walz said, well, I'm a bit of a knucklehead.
Right. Well, and then really with these vice presidential debates, do they move the needle any? Will this one in particular change any minds out there?
You know, I thought it might move the needle coming in a little bit. I think at the end of the day, what it's going to do is going to enhance J.D. Vance's approval rating a little bit, but I can't imagine that that's going to be very decisive here. What's going to happen at the end of the day, people are going to vote on Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, and that's what's going to happen. And that, in fact, this is probably the most visible we've seen Tim Walz since the Democratic convention. It's almost been as if he's almost been put in mothballs. J.D. Vance is doing a lot of interviews, but he's really not going to be someone who is going to be decisive in this race. So it's going to be the top of the ticket as we normally see.
Right, for sure. And I feel like both candidates probably feel like they did what they wanted to do tonight.
I think so. I think that Republicans are probably quite happy with the performance of J.D. Vance, though, as I said at the end, I think they're going to have to pay a little price, particularly among independents, for him not being able to admit that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. And the Democrats were worried about Tim Walz. He said he wasn't a good debater. He wasn't a great debater tonight, but he probably did okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And obviously, for all of the latest updates on the 2024 election, you can head on over to WTBR.com or download our free CBS 6 app.